I wanted to start actually by saying, while I've actually been sitting on this call, I got a message on my phone. Someone was trained on Tuesday by Tom while I was in hospital having surgery for an accident. He has reached out to me this morning, literally half an hour ago, and said, "Hi Sue, how are you going? I just want to tell you that the samples are coming in fine. It is just insane how it's ticking with patients," and 3 exclamation marks. Thank you, with another 4 exclamation marks. So that is one of the people that we've actually just trained in Larkin protocol. He's very keen to implement it in his practice, and has been pestering me for such a long time to get it going. And Tuesday, Tom did his one-on-one training without me, and that's just fabulous feedback. Thanks, Tom. You must have done a good job for a change. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. Don't let looks deceive you. I'm a bit of a sledgehammer. I'm the prophet fairy with a sledgehammer. So I pretty much I ended up as a consultant in dental practice for myself. I was a very, very regular hygienist, but always wanted to do more, and absolutely hated being stuck in the corner just with the broom sweeping out the dirt out of people's mouths. And I looked my entire career attracted to practices which delivered comprehensive care. And it took me all over the world in search of that. And my very low moment, I became a practice manager. That wasn't necessarily my low moment. But my lowest moment was when I was sitting with my 70-year-old dentist boss, who I love dearly. And I realized that I was becoming his nursemaid. And I was sitting there thinking, all I'm doing is I'm a PA to an elderly dentist who does and still does very fine work. But I knew I had to get out, and I got into dental consulting. I created a business for myself, and I started teaching dentists how to do what it was that I knew how to do, and that was to grow their business and make them money. But it felt to me, it just didn't feel right. And that was about 5 years ago. There's something about that. But so I want to take you back why it didn't actually feel right. And this is not the photograph of the patient I'm talking about, but it kind of looked like him. So at the ripe old age of 23, I had a patient of mine who came in to my practice, and he bled like mad. He was 36 years of age. He was an accountant. I found 5, 6, 7 millimeter pockets. He had been under the care of a dentist for all the years prior to seeing me. I was the first hygienist he ever came across. So I was a bit cross with my boss. Oh my God, huffing and puffing in the corner, rolling my eyes. And, I did everything that I could and that I'd been taught at dental hygiene school, and the scalers came out, and the oral hygiene instruction, and the flossing, and the chlorhexidine, and, you've got to do this, and let's discuss the bone loss. And, I had a series of appointments. And when things started to settle, and like Tosha, I was always curious why they still bled, and I used to say to people, but they're still bleeding. And, I was led to believe that I had done something wrong. But this guy, he just didn't return for his 3-month recall. And I was really annoyed with him and myself. I must have done something wrong. And it took about a week, but it got back to me that he had died of a massive heart attack, and he was 36. And I knew in that moment that there was something that wasn't right. And I knew that the mouth was connected to the rest of the body. But this was 1990, 91. And a lot of you might not have even been born then. But I carried this with me my entire career as I searched for answers. And I must have driven everyone mad. Every periodontist I came across, cardiologist, doctor, everybody, no one could actually help me. And then in 2019, as I was consulting, I went to the US to a seminar, and the heavens were looking down on me, because I met Dr. Mike Chubiak, who in turn introduced me to Tom. Now, Dr. Chubiak was attracted to talking to me because of a little video program that one of my friends has created called Channel D, and he noticed that one of our videos was all about oral systemic health, and it talks about the inflammation superhighway that goes through the body, and Mike thought that was fabulous. And he sat down with me at the end of the third day of the seminar and handed me the book, Hygiene Superstar. I devoured that book on the plane on the way home. I still have the original copy. I've purchased hundreds of those books and started handing them out. Mike's finally, sorry a minute, guys. Sorry, guys, that shouldn't have come through. Mike's actually handed me printing rights, so I can now get them printed in Australia. And in turn, Mike introduced me to Dr. Larkin. So I got back to Australia, and both of these men are very, very humble. And this thing that we're creating is very much bigger than any of us know. I honestly believe that Larkin Protocol is the simplest and most compact educational program and protocol worldwide. And the reason I have named it after Tom is because it's his life's work. And I think, you know, it's a nod to the man that's actually been mentored by some of the best people in the world. So Tom's very humble, and so is Dr. Chubiak. And I'm really, really pleased that I actually met them. So my mission, I do believe the answer is Larkin Protocol, but my mission is to not leave this profession without raising the profile of the dental hygienist, and to bring medicine and dentistry back together. It's when you start getting to my age, and purpose is something that kind of floats around in your head, and itches that haven't been scratched or needs that haven't been fulfilled, it absolutely is a mission of mine to get this thing going worldwide. So I want to tell you a little bit about Australia. So the lie of the land in Australia. You might hear some of my Aussie metaphors. I'm not sure which one are Aussies and which ones are worldwide, but Tom's learnt quite a few since he's been working with me the last year or so. His favourite, I think, is the tall poppy syndrome, but I'll get him to explain that to you one day. But the Australian dental landscape is highly advanced in many, many areas, and people like Jason Pang are a testament to that. He's an outstanding clinician, and is I'm grateful to him because his brains are so big, and we have a bit of a giggle about that. But yes, I did stalk him. I realised when we created Larkin Protocol that I did want to have this thing tested in a few practices, like real life practices. And I had in a previous life worked literally up the road from Jason and didn't even know he was there. Actually, he wasn't there, he came in later. And on a visit to Sydney, I went to visit my old practice, and I realised how close Jason was. So I pretty much texted him and said, I'm coming in. And I think I tipped his world upside down. But anyway, we do have hygienists in Australia. Oral health therapists are another profession that is very closely tied to hygiene. They're slightly different, but they can operate independently and free of dental hygienists. Sorry, they can operate independently of dentists, and we have amazingly highly trained people. But the timeline is pretty much when the rest of the world in 1907 and 1950, you know, had already had hygienists in place. We didn't. It wasn't really until 1971 that the first pure hygiene dental school in Adelaide, which is my hometown, was created. I graduated in '88, and it wasn't until 2000-ish that the rest of Australia started to catch on board. So I was very fortunate. There was only one school in Australia, and it was in my hometown. And my first hygienist was at the age of 13. So the dental hygienist to dentist comparison across the world, and I've been watching this for about 20 years or more because I was always really curious. But this is some recent statistics, and we're finally catching up because in the USA and Spain, which are the green areas, there's one hygienist for every dentist. In Japan, there's 1.5 dentists, or 3 dentists to every 2 hygienists. In Australia, we're lucky if we're 5 to 1. So we still have, the landscape is still not at all saturated. When I started, it was more like, 50 to 1. And so upon graduation, I was offered job after job after job. But it's interesting, in the eastern states in Australia, people still operate without a dental hygienist. So this is the ratio now. And where I want to bring this story is to something really interesting. If we look at a map of the world, and then we see where Australia is, there's a little dot right at the bottom, which often gets left off of our maps, and we call that place Tasmania. And Tasmania is where I'm sitting at the moment. It's got many other names, the Apple Isle. Tasmania has 22 dental hygienists, and the next picture here, it was actually settled by convicts. It was a hard labour colony, and all the people that stole bread, or probably did a little bit worse, from England were sent here for hard labour. So it's an absolutely beautiful place with all of these gorgeous English terrace houses and lots of stone and stone cutting, and it's quite cold. And the area of Tasmania is less than 1%, or the land area is less than 1% of the entire land area of Australia. So the capital city in Tassie is Hobart, and then there's Launceston, and I am sitting over here in a place called Devonport, where the population is 14,000. And I discovered the most amazing humans in Devonport. And on January the 28th, after reaching out to Tom and working with him online and having things tested around the place, actually I hadn't quite met Jason yet. I reached out, Dr. Sanjay Marley reached out to me. He had known me through my consulting work before, and he said, Sue, what are you doing? I want you to help me build my hygiene department. I've got a little bit of a hygiene department. I really don't understand how it works, how it should work, what's the right way to do it. And I said, I will do that for you, but I will not work with anyone anymore unless they take on Larkin protocol. And what's Larkin protocol? So the journey began, and they trusted me. They've taken this on board, and in January 28th, we implemented Larkin protocol within 4 weeks of that conversation. And we went from having 2 days of hygiene in this practice for the previous 2 to 3 years and making about 11,000 a month. In their first month, the practice doubled their hygiene department and made 31,000. I went downstairs this morning to go through the practice data, and we went from this, and I'm not sure if I actually updated the slide. As of yesterday, and it was this morning I checked, 8 months after implementing this, the practice has done $269,000 in their hygiene department. They have 100% retention of their patients. 100%. Every single person here leaves with their next visit. They're on target to do $450,000 in their practice this year. The reason I'm here is because I'm onboarding a new hygienist, and I'll tell you a little bit more about her in just a minute. And these people are not perfect at their hygiene department yet. We've still got a long ways to go. But Kate Phillips, who might be on the call, and Sanjay, who's floating around somewhere, I was in their huddle this morning, and I told them all that they need to be really proud of themselves, because what they're doing in a very tiny place at the bottom of the world is a testament to what can be done to improve the health of every single person in the world. And I thank them immensely for trusting me. So Devonport has a population of only 13,000 people, and I'm showing you this because we are not in some big swanky part of the world that's you know, money's floating around and you know the disposable income is just, you know, off the chart. But we have, if you look down at the median, so the median age is around 44 of all of the people that live in Devonport, and of the there's only 3,510 families in the district, and there's median weekly household income is $884. Now that's Australian dollars, so you guys need to just take 2/3 of that, and that's US dollars for the US people. So that's the equivalent, I guess, of about 600. That's the median income. Now the next question goes, oh yeah, I'm sure, but there's only one dentist there, right? No, there's not. In 1 square kilometre, or one, which is probably 2/3 of a square mile, we have 8 practices. Every red dot there is another dentist. So we're not in Hicksville. We're not in a place where there's not dentistry. We're in a place where there's, you know, it is a regional town, but we have a lot of competition. And here we are at Shri Dental and Implant Centre. And this is what can be created in some parts of the world that most of you wouldn't even know exist. And this team is outstanding. In fact, if you look at the top row of that building on the left-hand side, I'm sitting in behind the glass just behind there now, overlooking the Mersey River. So we are on track to build this hygiene department to $1 million per year, just hygiene in the next 12 months. Attracting staff is a major issue because it's a regional town, it's cold, it's in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And there's only 22 dental hygienists in all of Tasmania, so the recruitment pool is not big. Now, when you take a state-of-the-art practice like this and you add skills to the team and services to the clients, and you really raise quality care to the clientele and you deliver comprehensive care such as Larkin protocol, you're able to attract people like the new hygienist. I haven't got a picture up because we actually, she hasn't told her boss she's resigning yet. But she's coming from a place called Perth all the way across to Tasmania. So imagine having things in your practice where you can actually attract people from one side of the country to the other. And she is coming specifically to learn Larkin protocol. And Tom, I know how humble Tom is. And we would not have been able to attract the quality of this new recruit had it not been for the Larkin protocol and the delivery of care, because any hygienist sitting on this call would not sell her home, move away from, you know, 2,500 miles for something that wasn't worthwhile. She is so excited. She actually said to me, I have learnt more in 2 days in this practice than I have in the previous 10 years at the practice that I've been working at. She said, I am so excited. I'm going home to sell my house. I'm getting on a plane and I'm moving back. And this is a very, very forward thinking, but carefully thinking young woman. And she has considered everything. And that is actually the reason I'm here, because I want to help. Sanjay pays me, in addition to Larkin protocol, he pays me to actually build his entire hygiene department, which is all part of my 7-figure hygiene program. So Larkin protocol is the absolute diamond that sits in the middle of all of the program that I run for him. So I haven't got too many slides, but I hope this is interesting, because dental hygienists, I am a very regular dental hygienist. I wasn't the best dental hygienist on earth, but I was always curious and I wanted to know more. And I am really excited about, you know, finding Tom and finding Dr. Chubiak and Jason and Sanjay and everyone here. But I want to show you that, you know, introducing a program like this, I actually keep a lot of statistics. I'm a little bit nerdy when it comes to that. I have a background prior to dentistry in mathematics. It just is something that excites me. I'm a huge baseball fan, which is not actually very common in Australia, but I love all the statistics around sport. And so I love these things, and because I think the figures and the numbers don't lie. But as we grew the hygiene department by $20,000, this is not in perspective. I had to sort of fit it onto a slide, but the rest of the practice went up by 40,000 as well, because I know that when all of this work is sitting inside, all the preventive work is sitting inside the dentist schedule, it's actually willfully lowering the hourly rate of the dentist. And so this is a no-brainer for most of you people in the States, but by pulling all of that stuff out, the natural thing is that the rest of the production of the practice goes up. And in addition to that, patients absolutely have the confidence once their mouth and health, their mouth is healthy, to actually say yes to other things. So I am not going to spend a lot of time on this, but you know, it's my nerdy numbers stuff that I like to calculate. But you can go into your database and start working out, well, how many appointments are in there and what's being missed out. So with Dr. Sanjay, he had 3,000 active patients. He had a hygienist 2 days a week. It's a no-brainer to get more. I'm not going to go through this in a lot of detail, but you know, we all know that every periodontal patient should be seen at least 4 times a year, and every non-perio probably 2 times a year. So if we take, you know, regular statistics and start working things out, we can actually fit it into a formula and work out that if you have 1,000 patients in your practice, it works out to about 2,500 hygiene appointments a year at 100%. Now, I just want to show you this chart, which I do not ever tell my clients to go marketing their practice. You know, I think the hundreds and thousands of dollars that's spent on, you know, flashy marketing is a complete waste of money. I think branding is a cool thing, and for people to know, you know, marketing and branding is really cool, but try to pull people off the streets who don't know you is not my preferred method of marketing. I prefer word of mouth, and I absolutely know that every practice can grow by completely assessing and diagnosing patients who are already existing in their practice. And the hygiene production potential, if you look across the top, you calculate what your average appointment costs. And I'm not talking about just the cleaning portion of, and our terminology in the US and here is a little bit different. So we call them a scale and clean. We call them all sorts of crazy things. I think Tom thinks we call it a scrape, but it's something similar to that. But you know, a hygiene appointment, obviously, if we do Larkin protocol, we have full comprehensive care with biofilm sampling, guided biofilm therapy and disruption. You know, all of the appropriate things. It's not just the old treadmill appointment where you just get in and clean up and go out. So it does start to periodontal therapy or comprehensive periodontal therapy, you can charge more. And if you have 1,000 patients in your practice and you charge roughly $200 for a visit, you've got a $500,000 hygiene potential in your practice, at least. And I used to sprout these numbers off and no one would believe me, but when you look at the practices that we coach, this is what we're getting. If you've got 2,000 patients and you've got an average fee of $200, that's exam, radiographs, OPGs, biofilm sampling, all of the things that go with it, you know, correct periodontal therapy, you've got $1 million hygiene department. And people are astounded by this, but it's so easy once you know how. I will not take on clients anymore unless we've got that diamond in there, which is the Larkin protocol. And it is blowing me away what we're able to achieve. I won't go into this slide too much because I've probably taken enough time, but my true intention in all of this is for all of us to become proactive, preventive care clinicians. And I would like to find people who have the potential of periodontal disease before they have their disease. And exactly as Tom said in the, showed us in the journal that was given to him by Jason, we have this infection in our mouths before it actually visually shows. So I'm trying to encourage everyone to step away from the disease repair model, which is let's wait for disease and then see what happens and then we'll treat it then, to actually a risk assessment model where we test the biofilm, we understand the biofilm, we risk assess and put people into categories and we treat them accordingly. There's plenty of people around with tissue that looks like this, and then we find this really deep pocket. Now, that wasn't me. Fortunately, I don't have any pocketing in my mouth. I have very little bleeding in my mouth, but my spirochetes were out of control. And it's really shameful to actually think that I've spent a lifetime in dentistry, and the first time I took a biofilm sample of my own mouth, all Tom could hear was my screaming in the background of, this is disgusting, how do I get rid of it? Well, I have got rid of it. I got rid of it very, very quickly. But all of us are constantly leaning over patients, breathing in the aerosols. And as Charles Mayo said in 2015, there was the greatest portal of entry of bacteria and pathogens into the human body are through the nose and the mouth. And COVID has actually shown us and underlined that with so many of us. But there we are working at the coalface, breathing in over people. And I was one of those people, and it absolutely shocked me. But what that's meant for me is I now don't go to any old practice anymore. I don't go and see my best buddies who've got the scalers and the cavitrons. So there was a question before about the cavitron. I'll only go somewhere that has guided biofilm therapy as a treatment option. And I could talk forever and ever, but I want to thank you all for attending and letting me speak today. And it's a goodbye from me down under.